You're watching BCTV. We're all about Brantford. You're watching BCTV, Brantford Government Television, a service of Brantford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Brantford.
Good evening. My name is Peter
Recording in
Bassman,
progress.
and I chair the Brantford Inland Wetland Commission. It is January 25th. It's 7 o'clock. We have a virtual meeting of the Inland Wetland Commission this evening in accordance with Public Act 22.3. BCTV is recording. Please be conscious of the fact of making your presence seen in the little screen so that anyone viewing the BCTV tape will be able to match the name with the face. Let's see. We are operating this evening with minutes that are posted on the town website. They are listed as January 24th. That's a revised and superseded agenda from those that were filed on the 19th. Please mute your speaker if not speaking, so that we can avoid audio problems. And the raise your hand feature is active this evening. And Katie and Jamie, if you can monitor the meeting this evening for those hands raised, that would be great. We have certainly enough commissioners this evening. What's the final count? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so everyone is seated this evening and will be able to participate and vote. Take a roll call. Commissioner Goklowski.
Commissioner Goklowski here.
Commissioner Begeman.
Commissioner Begeman present.
Commissioner Armrod.
Commissioner Armrod present.
Commissioner Steinberg.
Commissioner Steinberg here.
Commissioner Papantonis.
Commissioner Papantonis present.
Commissioner Boda.
Commissioner Boda present.
Commissioner Meinson. I think you're muted, Jessica. Commissioner Meinson. One more time. Commissioner Meinson, can you hear me? No, I think that's a no. Well, when she unmutes, she can join the meeting at that point in time.
Chairman, I just have a quick correction. We have 8 commissioners present and only 7 should be seated. So would you like to see the full commissioners?
I forgot myself. Do we have an alternate on the call?
Jessica Myosin is an alternate. So would you like to seat the full commissioners and leave the alternates unseated?
Correct.
Oh,
So,
David's also an alternate, but David was on the call first. So
correct. Right.
okay.
So the 7 commissioners will be seated and can vote. We have 8 commissioners on the call this evening. So Commissioner Meinson can participate but not vote. I think that's the housekeeping. First item on the agenda is the January 11th regular meeting minutes. They're on the website, as well as they were mailed to the commissioners. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
Commissioner Goklowski, motion to accept the minutes from the
And
January 11th meeting.
Hopefully there's a second.
Commissioner Steinberg, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion or corrections or comments on those minutes? I guess we don't need to do a vote on the minutes, correct? We can do a nodding of the head, thumbs up or whatever, Jamie?
All votes should ideally be roll call votes.
All votes, okay. Commissioner Gokowski,
Commissioner Gokowski, aye.
Commissioner Begeman,
Commissioner Bagamon, aye.
Commissioner Armrod,
Commissioner Ormrod, aye.
Commissioner Steinberg,
Commissioner Steinberg, aye.
Commissioner Papatonis,
Commissioner Papatonis, aye.
Commissioner Boda.
Commissioner Boda abstain.
Okay, first up is we have some applications for review. These are actionable this evening if the commission so determines. Inland Wetland 23-1202, 7 Fir Tree Drive, landscaping and wetland buffer enhancements. I know we had a package bailed out for the last meeting. Jamie, any changes to the information that the commission received?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, we did get a response to a concern raised about potentially invasive ground cover. And I did ask for clarification on the proposed conservation seed mix and was provided with an example seed mix. And other than that, the materials are mostly the same. I have also completed a staff report for review and consideration. Other than that, unless you have any questions, it looks like the applicant is present.
Just a question for staff. I assume at this point that the seed mix and the information that you received, there's nothing concerning about the information received since the last meeting?
No, I thought the information was satisfactory. I guess one point that I might make that the applicant can maybe clarify, but I think those ground covers were also intended for the area up around the house rather than down by the wetland. So while they have proposed an alternative that doesn't have invasive tendencies, it's also not in the immediate proximity of the wetland, I don't think, but they can correct me if I am wrong.
I believe that's the case as well, Jamie. That it's that ground cover wasn't intended to be planted in that area.
Yeah, so for the commissioners, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a proposed planting material. And I think that that by and large pertains to this area around the house and the backyard. And probably over here as well, adjacent to the driveway. And then you'll see a separate proposed buffer material list and details that would pertain to.
This is Commissioner Bagamon. Jamie, you're not sharing.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
All right, is everyone seeing a site plan? Am I sharing the right screen?
Yes.
Yep.
So in the upper right-hand corner, the proposed plant material, I think that that pertains to around the house in the upper part of the driveway. And then down by the wetland area, there's a couple of call outs pertaining to the planting areas. And then there's this proposed buffer material. So I think for the ground cover down in this area, it would be more of the wood chips for stabilization and the conservation seed mix, in addition to the perennials and grasses in this proposed buffer material list.
Any other questions or comments from commission or staff regarding this? I guess at this point, then, this is Commissioner Vasserman. I guess at this point, Jamie, can you share the staff report?
Sure. So this application was first at the last meeting, so it is actionable if the commission thinks they have all the information they need to make a decision. The site is a single family residence. There was some recent additions or modifications to the house, and they've replaced the septic system on site. They are abandoning an old septic tank, which is located down by the wetland area. So this is the driveway going up to the residence. The wetland area is kind of set back here where you can kind of see it drops down. And if you look closely, you can see there's a wooden stake here. That's about where the septic tank to be abandoned is located. So they've held off on removing the tank so that they could do the activity all at once to minimize the ground disturbance. I did talk with the contractor about that when they were doing the septic repair or replacement, they weren't sure if they were going to be required to remove it at that time by East Shore District Health. I've also touched base with East Shore District Health on that removal process. So I have a condition of approval that kind of outlines my conversation with the contractor and East Shore District Health regarding that. We have a wetland delineation. The wetlands are flagged. We don't have the wetland flags on a survey. We just have the sketch of approximate location. Erosion controls per report conducted by Davison Environmental. Prior to all work, erosion control barriers shall be installed as needed between areas of exposed soils and wetlands. Wood chips will be used as temporary cover on disturbed areas until planting area is stabilized. Stormwater is not really applicable to this application. Landscape plan has been provided at the January 11th meeting. There was the comment about invasive tendencies of some of the ground covers. The revised is to swap it out for native ground hug and the New England wetland plants wildlife conservation seed mix was specified for the call out of seed mix on the site plan. So the conditions of approval that I have drafted to kind of start the conversation include initial inspection prior to start of site work for the septic tank removal, invasive species management, and planting oversight, acknowledging that those things might be slightly separated, especially the plantings from the invasive species management. Final inspection for septic tank removal and final inspection for planting. Prior to start of work, landscape plan shall be updated to reflect the changes outlined in the email received January 22nd, 2024. As outlined in the November 30th, 2023 Davison Environmental Report, the invasive species management efforts in planting shall be overseen and monitored by subject matter experts. Annual reports of progress in invasive species management and planting shall be submitted upon start of work until 3 years post-planting. Planting reports shall demonstrate at least 85% survival of plantings. Any plant substitutions shall be approved by the IW duly authorized agent prior to planting. Removal of the abandoned septic tank near the base of the driveway shall meet with East Shore District Health Department standards and requirements. Ground disturbance shall be kept to a minimum and areas shall be stabilized with the proposed conservation seed mix or wood chips. I definitely left out words here. If work is completed outside of the season for seeding. Any fill material brought on site shall be clean. And then standard condition based on general statute change that the permit isn't effective until any planning and zoning approval, if needed, has been obtained. Standard conditions and general provisions of all permits. Any questions?
Commissioner Basserman, I guess I'm a little confused. Are we abandoning it, the septic tank, while the work is going on to, put in the new plan and then being removed, or am I totally off base on that?
So the new septic system has already been installed and is functioning. So as part of that, they do have to remove the old tank. That is a requirement by East Shore District Health, from a safety standpoint. Just make sure that there's not a. Right. So they would. I'm not sure if the tank has already been pumped out or not, but pump out and remove the tank, to close out their septic replacement with East Shore District Health.
This is Commissioner Basserman again. So what is the abandonment?
So the new system is located in the backyard. I don't recall exactly where, because it's not shown on this plan. So what they're doing is there's an old tank approximately in this location right here. And they're going to be pumping it out so that it's empty if it hasn't already been pumped out, which it probably has. And then they're going to be removing the tank. So that way there's not that tank just sitting there, because that can be a potential collapse hazard.
Yeah, so this is Commissioner Bassman, I guess the new septic system is functioning. The old one is going to be removed. Why are we having the word abandonment in our discussion here?
I think that's probably my fault for just using terminology that I've seen in relation to East Shore District Health's process.
Okay, so we have a removal of the tank as part of this application.
I did tell the contractor that if East Shore District Health required the removal as part of closing out the septic replacement, that he could do that work with the information outlined in the condition. So that condition's kind of reaffirming something
Okay,
that
okay.
I've already told them they could do. Yeah.
Thank you. Any
And
other
that area
comments?
is pitched away from the wetland, so I really didn't, well, it's very
Mhm.
close to the wetland. Ultimately, given what they're doing, I didn't think that it was worth holding them up, especially if it was gonna be mandated by East Shore that they remove it sooner rather than later.
And we already have a functioning system in place already, so.
Correct, which is
Any,
much further from the wetland.
right, and any comment from any of the other commissioners?
This is Commissioner Begman. Jamie, you chose 3 years for the planting progress reports. Can you just, rather than 5 or?
I chose 3 years because we've had a past practice of doing 3 to 5 years. And 5 years is required whenever there is required compensation. So say you're filling wetlands and you're doing compensation, it's standard to require 5 years. But if it's something that's being offered, we don't always require the 5 years of monitoring. And I mean, their whole project is focused on invasive species removal and planting of native species. So you're not going to propose to do something like this if it's not something that's important to you. So I thought the 3 years was reasonable.
This is Commissioner Bassman. As a follow-up to Commissioner Begeman's question, and I assume, Jamie, that none of the species that are being placed have any characteristics that would suggest we need to think about 5 as opposed to 3? That's a question.
I don't see anything that makes me think that 5 would be needed in this case.
Can I ask Commissioner Bassman, can I ask the same question of Mr. Davison?
Sorry. Yeah, these are basically the plantings will be they're either natives or cultivars of natives. The instruction I gave to John was John Cunningham from TEC Landscape Design was stuff that's pollinator friendly. So a lot of this stuff here, both he and I have experience with them and that they're very pollinator friendly. So that was sort of the intent here.
Thank you.
And then the Vinca, we did swap out the Vinca I asked John for a substitute for that at the request of, I believe it was Commissioner Begeman. So he offered up that it's basically a chokeberry cultivar that's a ground cover that he's been using recently, and he likes it. So it seemed fine to me. I mean, it still fruits the same way chokeberry does and has some wildlife benefits. So it seemed like a good substitute.
This is Commissioner Begman. Yeah, and I talked about the Pachysandra because I've seen big patches of Pachysandra in Branford Land Trust areas near neighborhoods, near wetlands. So,
yep.
But now I understand that if it's going to be used, it would be up by the house. So.
Any other questions, comments from the commission regarding the staff report?
This is Commissioner Papantonis. To your question, Commissioner Basserman, about abandonment, I think originally there was an issue about whether East Shore was going to allow the tank to be abandoned or whether it had to be removed. I think that's how it ended up in the paperwork and my reading.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I called it abandonment because that's what East Shore District Health calls it when an old system is to be removed. But physically it is to be removed. It's already been abandoned, if you will. So if that's a problem for the commission, that could certainly be reworded to removal of the abandoned septic tank. Yeah, I guess I don't know.
I think we all understand, this is Commissioner Bassman, I think we all understand, based on your couple of comments here, what's going on. I'm okay with, in the motion, dealing with the issue as opposed to, having to rewrite it. Speaking of
Commissioner
motion,
Gopowski,
is there a
Commissioner
motion
Gopowski.
to, go ahead. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I can see why it says removal of abandoned tank, because when they started operation of the new septic system, the old septic system became abandoned. And so it technically is abandoned, and then it has to be removed.
This is Commissioner Bassman. I think we're all on the same page at this point. Is there a motion to move this along and deal with the staff report that's in front of us?
This is Commissioner Begman. I'll make a motion if, what date was this, the staff report was prepared on what date? 125, okay. So I make a motion that we approve Inland Wetlands 23-1202, 7 Fur Drive, landscaping and wetland buffer improvements with the proposed conditions in the staff report dated 1/25/24 and all the standard conditions and general provisions of all permits.
This is Commissioner Bassman. I'll second that. Can we take a vote?
Do it.
Yep.
Commissioner Steinberg,
Commissioner Steinberg, aye.
Commissioner Boda,
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Armrod,
Commissioner Ormrod, aye.
Commissioner Papantonis,
Commissioner Papantonis, aye.
Commissioner Gokowski,
Commissioner Gopowski, aye.
Commissioner Begeman,
Commissioner Begeman, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Next up, Inland Wetland 23-1203, 26 North Main Street, remove and replace 3 mobile homes. Units number 6, number 11, and number 20. We had a discussion on this last meeting. I think there was some additional information that we were looking for. Jamie, can you bring us up to speed?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So per request from the last meeting, we did receive revised site plans, which do not say draft on them. They're a little bit more finalized. The mobile home closest to the wetland has been moved slightly further away in line with where the previous mobile home was relative as far as proximity. And we did receive a little bit more information in the narrative about the process. I'm not sure if the applicant is on the call right now, but do you want to find out if the applicant's here and perhaps table it if they're not, or do we want to move forward with it anyways?
I do not see her on, Jamie.
Yeah, unless she's under a different name.
Well, that's true.
And were we, this Commissioner Bassman, were we looking to get the wetland delineation on the sketch?
So I believe that all of the wetlands are located off-site. or at least a majority of them are, if the commission feels that it is. So per state statute, the commission can only require on-site delineation of on-site wetlands. I'm gonna pull up the survey real quick. So is everyone seeing a survey with a aerial image?
Yep.
So we've got North Main Street, which is Route 1, the entrance to the park, and then you'll see that the property line kind of jogs right here. And you'll see this kind of cross-hatched area. This is owned by Sundance Condominiums, and this is the property that the wetland is located on. The Sundance Condominiums property and the state right-of-way. So if the commission really thinks it's necessary to review this application, certainly, I mean, you could have them do an investigation of their property to see if the wetlands do extend at all onto the property. But I think given the topo of everything out there, if I don't think that the wetlands are on their property. I could be wrong, but I think that they're off-site.
This is Commissioner Bassman, and that's based on the best information that you have available, correct?
Yeah, that's based on site visits. It's also based off of previous applications that have been handled over the past years, like dating back to Diana Ross's files. There's been activity in this area because the property owner does have an easement in this crosshatched area. So they have done some enhancement projects in the wetland in the past. And about a year ago, they were before the commission looking to plant some arborvitae along this edge of this parking area to provide some screening and to help prevent any trash debris getting into the watercourse area.
This is Commissioner Bassman. I guess I'm okay given where the wetlands are located and who owns it in our jurisdiction. I guess the other thing that we were looking for per the minutes was the plan for the demolition and removal of the homes on site. Did we get that information?
So we got some information, and I'm not sure if it's, let's see, going to be satisfactory. So we've got a corrected or an updated narrative that revises the home sizes because they've been slightly revised since the initial application. It says each trailer will be demolished on site and hauled away in a dumpster. Updated drawings are included with this revised narrative. Oil tank has been empty since 2016 and shall be professionally removed and scrapped. So with this in mind and kind of the bare bones of the information provided as one condition for consideration, I did suggest that you could require construction fencing to be placed along the edge, along the rear of the mobile homes during this process to help make sure that no debris is transported towards the wetland or watercourse and that, nothing's stored or stockpiled moving in that direction.
This is Commissioner Brown. Is there a staff report prepared for this application?
There is. Would you like me to share it?
But I guess that's the choice of the commission here, is to go over the staff report and make sure that in the staff report, all of the conditions that we asked for are addressed, or table it when the applicant can talk or attest to that or talk to that. But I guess why don't we put up the staff report and review it and see where we're at.
Real quick, share the revised site plans first. So this is unit 6, and you can see the water course over here. I do think that there is some wetland adjacent to the water course, but still off-site in this area where it's kind of low lying. So you can see the existing trailer and the proposed one. So it's like for like slightly larger because it's going to be they're going to be putting a concrete pad in to put the trailer on. This is the unit that was also near the wetland / water course. Previously, they had the unit a little bit closer to the property line, so it was getting closer. They have now revised it so that the end closest to the wetland / water course is flush with where the current one is located, and they have the larger portion extended towards the road. And I think that this is because the standard sizes of these mobile homes have generally increased in size. In the last meeting, they had said something about 2-bedroom units rather than 1-bedroom units. They're also showing the existing decks to be removed and a basic access stair on either side of the unit. And then this one's on the other side of the driveway, the wetlands off over here. I think probably the 100-foot upland review area is, I think that it's about 80 something feet away from the wetland / water course, as I can estimate it. So I don't have that construction fencing / silt fence would be for the unit 11 and unit 6. So commissioners, ready to run through the staff report, or are you thinking you have more questions that need to be addressed? You want to see if the staff report addresses them?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got the updated site plans. The draft watermark has been removed there, signed and sealed. No change in use. It's replacement of 3 mobile homes. They've revised it, I think, to really try and mimic what is existing and reduce the impact or encroachment towards the wetland. There is no wetland delineation on file, as we already discussed. I think the wetland is off-site, and they have historically not been required to do a wetland delineation for similar type projects. There are no erosion controls. Whoa, sorry, new computer. No erosion controls proposed, given the minor amount of ground disturbance associated with the proposed work. It's been represented that there'll be no regrading beyond the footprint of the concrete slab. It's likely okay. Any concerns could be addressed by a condition of approval, possibly. See possible condition number 1 and 2. Stormwater management is not proposed. I think based on the minimal increase in the size of the homes, it falls in a range where that is acceptable to past practice. It's also noted that the decks will be decreased in size, and I didn't factor deck sizes into that at all. Granted, decks usually allow for water to go through them, but so we've got 356 square feet increase. The regs don't require stormwater management until it's over 1,000 square feet. Can still require under 1,000, but 1,000 is the hard cutoff there. Landscaping, none is proposed. However, as I said before, the applicant does have an application for planting, which I don't believe they've started yet. They had an issue with the person that was going to do it, I think having some health issues, but I believe they're going to be doing that when they can. Will require zoning and building approval. So for the conditions, for inspections, fencing inspection per condition number 2 for units 6 and 11 prior to start of any work associated with the subject unit. Final inspection for each mobile home. And 2 is silt fence or construction fencing shall be installed to the rear of units 6 and 11 prior to start of demolition and shall remain in place until completion of replacement to ensure that no material encroaches towards or into the wetland / water course. Fencing shall be placed as close to the homes as possible to ensure that space needed to maneuver safely to complete tasks is provided. 3, any areas of bare dirt around the homes after completion of replacement shall be seeded for long-term soil stabilization. Other means of stabilization may be submitted to the Inland Wetland Office for review and approval by the duly authorized agent. I kind of put that in there with the thought of if they need to have like a walkway or something to get to the stairs. And then 4 is again that this approval is not effective until their planning and zoning approvals are obtained and the standard conditions and general provisions. of all permits.
Commissioner Goklowski. Jamie, if my memory serves me correctly, was there a quote unquote empty oil tank behind one of the units that is being removed?
Yes, that's what was mentioned in the narrative. I believe it's unit 11.
It was
Not
Unit 11.
I'm not sure if you can see it in the aerial, but I believe it's right here. And it's not being replaced. They're gonna be, I don't
Is that gonna
remember.
be, do you know if they're gonna be, I would like part of the conditions of that to be professionally removed and not just.
In the
picked up
narrative, it does say that it will be professionally removed. And if you think it's important that it's specified again in the permit as a
Okay.
condition, that could be done, but it is represented in the application materials that it will be professionally removed.
Okay.
This is Commissioner Bassman. I guess one possible amendment to the staff report that I'd like to get the commissioner's reaction is that staff review removal of I guess now oil tank, deck, and trailer prior to that activity commencing. Because it doesn't really define the how. It says what's going to be done, but it doesn't indicate how.
Commissioner Goklowski, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly from what the owner was saying last time, those units are dismantled on site and then removed in dumpsters. And the only thing my concern is the oil tank, I just want to make sure it doesn't disappear, close to the wetlands or something, get left behind. That's my only concern.
Any other comments?
To the point that you were making, Chairman Basserman, I think a third condition, a third inspection type could be added in between A and B, so B would become C, of to inspect. So basically inspect after demo and then after placement of homes, which could be a good idea because my understanding is she's looking to demo the houses sooner rather than later because they're not in good condition. And I'm not sure how quickly she'll be replacing them. So it would be good to make sure that everything is stable in the interim.
Any other amendment? This is Commissioner Bassman. Any other amendments to the staff report of what's the date on this one, Jamie?
For the meeting 125,
125.
123.
Oh, revised 123, got it. Is there a motion to move forward with 23-1203? Commissioner Bassman, go ahead.
This is Commissioner Begman. I'll make a motion that we approve 23-1203, 26 North Main Street, the removal and replacement of 3 mobile homes, number 6, 11, and 20. Per the staff report, with the conditions in the staff report for the 125-24 meeting, revised 123-24, with the addition under condition 1 that we add a new condition B, that staff will inspect the property after demolition and before replacement of the oil tank, decks, and trailers that are to be removed. And that we change condition 1B to letter C. And that we have the standard conditions and general permissions of all permits.
This Commissioner Bowden. Jamie, can you scroll that down so we can see 1 and 2?
This is Commissioner Boda, I'll second.
Any other amendments on the staff report of 123? All right, time for vote. Commissioner Goklowski,
Commissioner Goklowski, aye.
Commissioner Begeman,
Commissioner Begeman, aye.
Commissioner Papatonis,
Commissioner Papantonis, aye.
Commissioner Armrod,
Commissioner Ormrod, aye.
Commissioner Steinberg,
Commissioner Steinberg, aye.
Commissioner Boda,
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. Did I leave anyone out?
Got everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
Me, Frederick, and the wetland agent. Our applicant just joined the call.
Timing is everything.
Susan Fariselli, the commission just finished reviewing your application, and they approved it with conditions, and that information will be going out to you. Or Mike's up and running.
Sorry,
Or-
thank you. I apologize for running late. I was tied up. Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna sign out now.
Great. All right, last up in terms of the application for review, we have inland wetland 240102, 38 Howard Avenue, previous patio and landscape retaining walls and shed. Jamie, can you give us an update since the last meeting on 38 Howard Avenue?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So I think the two main things for the commission for tonight are there are 3 petitions for intervenor status that have been submitted. And there's also a petition for a public hearing that was received today. So I would suggest that the commission review the petitions to intervene in the proceeding. And the petition for the public hearing does have the 25 or more signatures from for residents of Branford. So I would suggest the commission set a public hearing date and continue any further discussion of the application to that public hearing so that all that information can be on the record of the public hearing.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, you said review the intervenor petition is the first thing that we should do this evening?
Yeah, I think that would probably be the best route. I don't know if anyone was able to take a look at them. They were uploaded to the Dropbox. They are similar to petitions that were received previously for other proceedings for the property, but they vary a little bit. Let me make sure I'm in the right folder here. So for the environmental intervenor petitions, basically what the commission is doing is confirming that the verified pleading pertains to the jurisdiction of the agency. And if so, then intervenor status would be granted, and then it is for the intervenor to has the burden of proof to prove their claims. So for this purpose, the commission is just looking at basically whether the petitions fall within the jurisdiction are relevant to the jurisdiction of the commission. So essentially, if it's going to pollute the air, then that would not fall underneath the jurisdiction of the commission. So I don't know, does the commission want me to read through them? You want me to leave them up for you to look at? These all are all part of the record, so they are available to everyone.
This is Commissioner Bassman. There's nothing in this correspondence, Jamie, that you have issue with?
Okay, so I feel like that might be a little bit of a loaded question. So,
well, I'm just trying to figure out if we need to go through and read this, if in fact.
So I'll try and jump to what I think is relevant. So basically the start of the petition is setting the stage of where the site is and the circumstances, the fact that the activity occurred without permits. So the fact that there's establishment of drainage pipes, creation of retaining wall, installation of patio pavers, excavation of the upland area, and use of property as a parking area is reasonably likely to have the effect of polluting and destroying the public trust in the water and other natural resources of the state. And that's kind of like the state statute wording there a little bit, by reducing mitigation of stormwater impacts, increasing erosion, encouraging growth of invasive species, and reducing shading of the brook. The current application is to alter only a portion of the illegally constructed walls, if not properly conditioned, is reasonably likely to cause additional harm. And because the application fails to address in any way the alteration of the stormwater pathway between the two houses that discharge the brook, the alterations previously made will not be remediated. And then I think this petition has like one additional point in it. Property owners also caused work to be done on the neighboring property at 34 Howard Ave between the two homes, which resulted in material, soil, and vegetation being removed, which in turn altered the shallow and surface hydrology and drainage patterns of the area. Stormwater, which previously infiltrated and was filtered by the infiltration, now runs directly towards the down gradient brook.
This is Commissioner Bassman. So that there are items obviously here that we're going to discuss at the public hearing. I guess to go beyond that at this point seems to me to be outside of what should be discussed at the public hearing.
Jamie Frederick in the Wetland Agent, and I think that's why I said it seemed like a loaded question to me, because you're not judging the validity of the arguments in the petition. You're just assessing that they're relevant to your jurisdiction at this point. So,
Mr. Chairman, I beg your pardon, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
This is Attorney Marjorie Shansky for the applicants Charles Watts and Kim McCabe. If I may respectfully suggest that you refer the petitions to counsel, because none of the three is actually sworn and subscribed to or affirmed in the nature of a verification. So I do not believe any of the three proffered petitions meet the requirements on their face under 22A19, and suggest you might want advice of counsel on that. Thank you.
Okay, another reason why I think the discussion this evening will be rather shallow, and between council's advice as well as picking a date for the public hearing, I think that's all we should be doing tonight. Anybody disagree of the commission?
Commissioner Papantonis, I have another question for council also, because I just want to know if there's a time limit on when someone can intervene in this kind of proceeding. We've had 3 other petitions, and those were quite a while ago. This matter's been pending for a bit.
yeah, Jamie Frederick in the Wetland Agent. So these 3 petitions are specific to the inland wetland application that we're discussing right now, which is IW 240102. which was submitted, I believe, this January 9th. So there are interveners in the notice of violation for the notice of violation, which is a separate proceeding. So that particular statute, if you want to intervene in a proceeding, it is proceeding specific. So because there is a new one could conclude because there's a new proceeding, they're submitting new petitions to intervene.
And this is Commissioner Bassman, and the application is separate from the NOV.
Correct, they're different proceedings.
Different proceeding. So I guess at this point, can we have the public hearing at our February meeting on the, what is it, 20 something or other?
Yeah, so the commission is now meeting twice a month. We would not be able to get the public hearing notices in the paper soon enough for the February 8th meeting, but we could, based on our standard practices, have it noticed for the February 22nd meeting. So that would be my recommendation to the commission. You're certainly welcome to consider other times and dates. The public hearing would need to be opened within 65 days of the receipt of the application.
Jamie, this is Commissioner Boda. So the granting of intervener status, Attorney Shansky referenced some, I don't know if it was a regulation number or what was referenced, but I'm wondering if you could clarify that, or Attorney Shansky would like to restate that citation. And then also if having the public hearing start the fourth Thursday, which is you said the 22nd, if that would mean that on the 8th, we could have town council clarify if there are any issues with the intervener status, and that if there were, that would give everybody enough time to figure it out. So what are your thoughts on if that time frame would work? Because we could also, if we needed to, I think you can count the days, but start the public hearing on the 14th of March.
Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent. So the petitions to intervene are under Connecticut General Statute 22A-19, which I believe is what was being referred to. And there are specific criteria for the verified pleadings. I did forward the previous ones over to town council for review, and they did not take issue with them. These ones are by and large the same. They are slightly different though, and I did not get them over to town council prior to this evening. So certainly, I think that would be a fair request of the commission to have that sent over. I think it's reasonable to try and address that for the consideration at the February 8th meeting. So that way it's confirmed one way or the other, whether the verified pleadings are acceptable and granted prior to a public hearing, which could be noticed for January 22nd. I don't know if any of the other commissioners have other thoughts, and or if you want to see if the applicant has any concerns regarding either statements that were said or time frame.
This is Commissioner Bassman. I think you meant February 22nd, Jamie, but
yes,
hopefully everybody understood that.
February 22nd. Did I say January 22nd?
Yeah.
Been a repetitive problem for me.
So this is Commissioner Bassman. I think I heard staff ask if any if an applicant here has issue with any of the comments that have been made this evening regarding 38 Howard Ave.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney Marjorie Shansky for the applicants. The February 22nd date for a hearing is fine and preferable to March. And I would also request that if the commission can continue to tie the NOV to the public hearing or to the hearing or consideration of the application. Jamie requested and received a note from the engineer signifying the continuing stabilization of the parcel in terms of the receiving water body. And so unchanged conditions would suggest that the efficiency and the combined treatment of both events should continue to move together. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Before you speak, Mr. Ainsworth, I guess this is Commissioner Bassman. I would certainly then it sounds like have to get town council's opinion on the combination, since I think there are interveners on one, as we talked 5 minutes ago, it's a separate proceeding. The parties may be different on one than the other, so we'll have to see what we can do and understand the idea of combining them. It moves it along and it resolves things kind of in a simultaneous fashion. Whether we have that within our jurisdiction and legal process, I guess town council will have to comment on that.
Mr. Chairman, Attorney Marjorie Shansky for the applicant. The agency did it last month for this meeting, and I would suggest, I'm not asking for anything different, but that the NOV be continued so that they are both considered at the same meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, in response, this would be conducted now within the context of a public hearing, which kind of has its own rules, if you will. So even though we talked about it and combined it in the last meeting, we weren't in a public hearing.
The NOV is
public hearing. In the wetland agent, I think I might be able to clarify on both ends here. I think the request is being made that not that the proceedings be merged, but that they be, if we're waiting to talk about the application, that we wait to talk about the notice of violation. So they would still be two separate processes. I think the request is that the notice of violation get tabled to when the discussion of the application will be resumed.
That's reasonable. Yep, that's reasonable.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Ainsworth.
Attorney Ainsworth for the interveners to the notice of violation, as well as the interveners for the application itself. We've been waiting for the NOV to be handled for many, many months, and it keeps getting put off. And the applicant acts as if they control the NOV. They don't. They're asking for you to keep moving it away so they don't have to address it. They want to address it the way they want to address it, but we've never been allowed to be heard on the impacts of what happened when they built this thing illegally without any permits. And I think at some point we need to have a chance to say something other than just saying, hey, the applicant gets to control this narrative.
I think February 22nd is going to be that opportunity. We picked a date. We have a public hearing. Those that are interested can certainly have an opportunity at that meeting. And I don't see any other reason to discuss the matter further this evening.
Correct. Thank you.
Any other comments from the commission?
No.
This is Commissioner Boda. I just because we have newer commissioners, I just want to reiterate that because it's a public hearing, it's really important to make sure you're not getting any information from outside of the public hearing about this particular issue. If you see a write-up in, a local paper or you hear a conversation, just walk away from it. Nobody should be getting information about this particular issue from anywhere outside of the public hearing.
Thank you, Commissioner Boda.
Jamie Frederick, in the wetland agent, just real quick as a point of clarification. So did we just talk about the notice of violation? Did we essentially move the notice of violation up on the agenda and discuss that? And is it been resolved that that would be tabled to the February 22nd meeting? Got a hand raised from the public.
You got better eyes than I do. Where is that hand?
Representative Tom Keefe from the RTM. May I speak?
Yes, you can.
I just wanted to clarify about the proceedings, and I apologize for my ignorance. But in the hearing that you're proposing, will the two issues be held by chronological order of your reception or by a different priority? Does it go notice of violation and then application, or I mean, because they can't be held exactly simultaneously? Could you clarify, please?
Jamie,
Commissioner Bassman, Jamie, you want to clarify if you can? If not, certainly that's a question we could raise with town council. Jamie
Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So the public hearing, the petition for the public hearing, which will be held, is for the application. It is not for the notice of violation. They are two separate proceedings. It would make sense for the commission to discuss both at the same meeting, perhaps, but they are still two separate proceedings. The public hearing is specific to the application, so the public hearing would be for the application. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you. Just to clarify then, so the public meeting is for the application, and that will be held the fourth Thursday of February. Is there a concrete time that the NOV will be decided?
This is Commissioner Bassman. I think what we talked about was that we would treat them within the same time frame, but not the same proceeding. So I would expect the NOV to be dealt with on the 22nd as well.
Thank you.
Anything else on 38 Howard? No other hands raised? Thank you for your attendance.
This is Commissioner Brown. Took me a second to find the unmute button. Just to clarify that a public hearing can go on for more than one meeting. So the chairman's comment about it being dealt with on the 22nd is just the opening of the public hearing and the discussion, and that those hearings can go over more than one meeting.
And question, this is Commissioner Bassman. Jamie, when does our time frame, our normal time frame terminate? Is it 65 days?
There's 65 days to open the public hearing, 35 days to close the public hearing once it's been opened. I believe 35 days to make a decision after the public hearing has been closed. And the statutes do provide for the applicant to consent to extensions if needed. But that's the standard time.
Thank you. Okay, all right. Hopefully we can move along here. Oh.
So the notice of violation.
I beg your pardon.
Well, you would raise the question about the NOV, Jamie, on whether we would deal with that on the 22nd. I thought I said that that's when that would be dealt with.
Tabled to.
Table 2, the 22nd.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, it's Attorney Marjorie Shansky, and I apologize. I just want to confirm that you're now finished talking about 38 Howard, and we can all leave the meeting if we choose. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's a good way to exit here.
Thank you.
All right. Jurisdictional ruling request. Jurisdictional ruling 240103, 92 Limewood Avenue, invasive removal of Japanese knotwood.
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So this is a little bit of a unique situation where I think a majority of the wetlands may be tidal. However, there are some inland wetlands identified in the area, and rather than making them do a full-blown wetlands investigation, I told them, I think the best way for you to proceed might be to do a jurisdictional ruling request. So for those of you that are Not familiar. So Limewood Ave is here, over, and the entrance, it got cut off, but this is to the rear of, Edgewater condominiums. So you can see basically over here, there was a subdivision with this cul-de-sac, and there was a wetland investigation where there was tidal wetlands and there was a little bit of inland wetland fringe on either side. So this is the area that made me think that it could fall within the commission's jurisdiction, and that would be appropriate to have the commission take a look at this. Essentially, there is a stand of knotweed along the edge of the lawn and marsh, and it's been, my understanding is it's been encroaching further into the lawn, and the association is looking to manage that knotweed with the help of All Habitats. And I believe that there's somebody here on the call to answer any questions the commission may have. But they're requesting a non-jurisdictional ruling that the activity is permitted non-regulated use per CGS 22A 40B, regulation 4.2. Control of invasive Japanese knotweed through chemical application approach, 3 years. And just jump down to, they did provide a brief narrative, but each year of treatment will see a decline in density of Japanese knotweed growth within the treatment area. Because we also selectively treat the Japanese knotweed, other annual and perennial plants on site will continue to germinate and expand into and within the treatment area, thus precluding the need for erosion control techniques. Native plants such as goldenrod, American burnweed, and asters were present during the growing season of 2023. Their root structures will continue to stabilize the soil as the species composition within the treatment area shifts from invasive to native. Revegetation of knotweed control. We are committed to restoring the treatment area with native plants to support the local wildlife community, such as pollinators, birds, and mammals. As native plants begin to naturally regenerate within the treatment area due to increased sunlight and minimized root competition, we will foster their growth and development. This includes the aforementioned species listed above. If there are areas where dearth of native plants begin to repopulate, we will consider planting plugs of native species appropriate to the site conditions, such as Joe Pye weed and common milkweed. Oh, and I guess I should scroll
Mr.
down.
Bassman, can you bring, Jamie, can you bring that sketch up again?
So I'm going to jump down to the sketch that was provided by the requestee, I guess. So again, here's the condos. And then this is the salt marsh with possible inland wetland fringe. And then these are the areas that they're proposing to treat the knotweed. So the green and blue are relative to the type of treatment, not relative to inland versus tidal, which I just wanted to point out because of the colors we have on our GIS system, that it doesn't relate.
And did I see on the other sketch, this is Commissioner Bassman, did I see on the other sketch that there was a water course?
So the blue line you're seeing, that's mean high water. So I put that on because of the tidal wet. So you can see right here with the tidal wetland, it aligns really well. And then you can see here, there's a little bit of a gap. So there, it's suggestive of the fact that this area is inland wetland. There might be a little bit of inland wetland here as well. Whereas this is probably tidal wetland right up to the edge of the lawn. Same with over here. And I don't know that you can see on these contours. But it is low elevations. Unfortunately, none of the contour labels came through. But it does identify mean high water as 3.55. I believe I saw somebody was present from All Habitat, if the commission has any questions for them or would like an overview on there.
This is Commissioner Bagman. I think you were going to show us the statute.
Oh, the regulation.
Oh, sorry, the regulation.
Which is based on the statute. So section 4.2 says following operations and uses shall be permitted as non-regulated uses in wetlands and watercourses, provided they do not disturb the natural and indigenous character of the wetland or watercourse by removal or deposition of material, alteration or obstruction of water flow, or pollution of the wetland or watercourse per CGS 22A 40B. The agency shall make the determination as to whether a proposed activity meets the definition that it is a non-regulated use or is a regulated activity. A, conservation of soil, vegetation, water, fish, shellfish, and wildlife. I think that's likely the one that they are referencing.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Jamie, do we have anything in their correspondence that would affirm that their activity doesn't violate anything said in that first sentence of number 4.2?
I don't know that that is addressed specifically. I think so I know one of the distinctions the commission has made in the past when considering these kind of activities and whether they fall under jurisdictional ruling or not is the means of treatment and soil stability. So if the means of treatment is mechanical and they're going in and removing the upper, couple of feet of soil, that's usually something the commission has taken a permit for. Where it's treatment and all work is above ground, I think that there's been past practice of the commission treating that as exempt, and assuming that the project as an entirety falls into a scope that they're comfortable with for that. And it does identify that they are doing specific treatment to knotweed and they're not treating anything else. So they are specifically going to apply with the intent of keeping the natives. There anyone present from the
Yes, I'm from
Habitat
Ohio.
or Limo? All right, I'm gonna let you do some of the heavy lifting and see if you have any additional comments you want to provide for the commission as to why you think this is appropriate for conservation and will not impact the wetland or water course negatively.
Yeah, so hopefully my internet's a little bit spotty, so hopefully it goes through. But yes, so we are going to do it's a targeted foliar application. So all of our field technicians are familiar with Japanese knotweed versus any of the native plants that are nearby. And so we use these backpack sprayers where we have a thin invert carrier, which allows for ultra low volume herbicide use. And so you target right onto the vegetation from feet right in front of you. And so they'll go through the treatment area. It won't be impacting the native plants there. In fact, once the invasive plants are under control, the native plants will either naturally regenerate or we will supplement that if that is not the case with native plants. So yeah, it is in our opinion conserving the local flora through control of the invasive one. And yeah, as Jamie was saying, there's no soil disturbance where everything is targeting the above ground plant tissue.
Any other questions from the commission?
Oh, I'm ready to make a motion unless somebody objects.
Floor is yours.
I would make a motion that based on 4.2A of our town regulations, that JR 24.01.03 92 Limewood Ave is in a non-regulated use, in that the work is specifically targeting knotweed and will continue to allow existing native plants to grow, and additionally, other native plants may be planted if necessary, and that there is no removal of or deposition of material. Nothing is being altered. They're just really targeting that invasive species.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Steinberg, I'll second that.
Any amendments to that motion? All right, we'll take a vote. Commissioner Steinberg,
Commissioner Steinberg, aye.
Commissioner Papantonis,
Commissioner Papantonis, aye.
Commissioner Boda,
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Armrod,
Commissioner Ormrod, aye.
Commissioner Begeman,
Commissioner Begeman, aye.
Commissioner Gokowski,
Commissioner Gokowski, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. Okay,
Thank you.
number 4, enforcement notice of violation 38 Howard Avenue has been tabled to the February 22nd meeting of the commission. Next up, notice of violation 142 Chestnut Street, removal of vegetation and earthwork without a permit to conduct regulated activities. Jamie?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So this was presented to the commission at the last meeting. The commission scheduled a site walk, which was unfortunately canceled due to weather conditions and ground conditions, making it difficult to fully see the extent of everything. So we've got the same information as last time. And I guess the question is, does the commission want to recap? Does the commission feel ready to act, or do you feel that you want to try and reschedule a site walk first?
Commissioner Gokowski. Jamie, historically, it was stated that that property was being used as a junkyard for car parts and things like that.
Correct. That's my understanding. It's been.
Is it still being used as that?
No.
Okay, so basically, is there any hazardous material on the property right now that you're aware of?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. I mean, there's some heavy equipment on site, but I mean, it's not like they have that. I'm not aware of storage of material of that nature, in large quantities or anything like that.
Commissioner Basserman, wasn't there piles of soil?
Yeah, so just to recap, take a step back and recap real quick. So this came to my attention because you could see clearing from the highway. Looked on the land records, saw who the property owner was, reached out to them. They were very responsive, had me out to the property to see what was going on. There's definitely been some clearing on the east side of the site. And then there's been some reworking of the area that was historically used as a junkyard. So, especially since I think we have a couple of commissioners that weren't here last time. This is north of 95. So if you're going under 95 on Chestnut Street, and almost immediately there's a dirt road on the left that's a private drive. This is at the end of that private drive. This is an aerial image from 2012. So you can see the historic use where there's definitely been, vehicle storage on site and, heavy traffic. You can see internal parking areas and drive areas. And then there's a yellow thumbprint or thumbtack over these two small Quonset hut type structures, just to kind of help point that out because they're hard to see in some of the aerials with the tree cover, canopy cover. So as I scroll down, I'm going to be moving closer to today. So this is 2014. it looks like it's starting to thin out a little bit as far as the vehicle storage on site, which and then 2019, you can see almost everything has been removed, and things are kind of starting to turn a little green again. And again, here's the Quonset structures, and you can see kind of the full tree cover around the area of historic use. This is 2019, so same year, different time of year from the photo above. Again, this is the area of, so what I tried to do here is in green, approximately sketch the area where there's been the historic use of car storage, junk yard, what have you, based on aerial imagery and the topo of the site. And then based on my site visit with the property owner, this area had been, approximately this area had been cleared. And it's a very rough approximate. And then there was this portion of the site that had some reddish dirt material placed, and on the edges of that material, it looked like it was 1 to 2 feet deep in some places. And then there was a drainage ditch slash possible water course that kind of bisected that area of historic high intensity use. So there's a water course that runs along the eastern portion of the site. There's a water course that kind of wraps around this area identified as approximate area of fill material. And then there's this other water course off to the west, which was, I didn't see any activity or impacting or having any sort of impact to that area, which I observed from this kind of high point over here. So this is 2022. You're going to again see that the site is pretty vacant and kind of abandoned looking. And again, here is the Quonset hut structures. And then this is Esri aerial imagery. I don't have a date for it. They don't provide that information, but it is newer than the 2022 imagery provided above. And you can see that there's kind of been some reworking of the site of historic car storage, and that there has been some clearing behind these Quonset structures. And the clearing was observed from the 95 southbound. And it does extend, I think, a little bit closer to the water course, but it's hard to say because, I mean, you know, as far as tree canopy versus ground disturbance, I'm not really sure. But there definitely was some clearing over here. And there was stockpile of material along the water course. A majority of that has been removed. There is one stockpile that remains. It has silt fence around it. And there is a straw wattle that has been installed along the edges of activity along this water course. And then along the water course over here. I did not tell them to install any erosion controls relative to the possible water course that bisects the property, as I wasn't sure if it was a water course, and also because it is vegetated and it didn't really look like it was being impacted too much, and it didn't look like it was transporting any sediment or anything. So basically this is something that I was, you know, debating whether to issue a notice of violation or a cease and correct order for. I became aware of this activity during the holiday season, and we were meeting twice a month instead of once a month coming into 2024. So I did do the notice of violation, so that way the property owner could be made aware of some of the concerns that I had, and that this could get before the commission. And so I think the question before the commission is, what information do you need? What needs to happen? And you know,
Commissioner Goklowski, I think still I would like to do a site walk. Number two, have we asked the property owner or the landscaper that is storing his equipment in materials there what that actual reddish dirt is, clay material, what it is. I mean, to get a clarification.
I don't think I have asked that question. The property owner, I believe, is on the meeting though, so if you wanna ask it of him now, he may be able to respond.
Is he, which one is he?
His name's Kevin O'Neill, so I'm assuming that the Kevin on the call is.
Yeah, I'm on the phone.
Hi, good evening, Kevin. Commissioner Goklowski here. There's been some concerns of some material, some reddish soil that's contained on the property. Jamie is unaware of what that actual material is. Could you tell us what that material is?
It was just some fill that was some of it was on site and some of it we brought on.
Okay, but it had to get on site somehow. What is that fill made up of? Is it clay? Is it do you know? Or
It's a mixture of clay and gravel.
okay. And what is your proposed use of that material?
Well, we just leveled off the site. There were some piles there that we knocked down and leveled off, and then where there was pockets, we filled them in. And
okay, so you're using that for the site itself.
That's it. Yeah, it's just that area that James talking about with the reddish fill is just going to be storage area for us. Yeah.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, when you were there, were you able to observe the area that I think was outlined in red near the water course? Were you able to get close enough to determine whether the water course, was in any particular negative condition?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. Yeah, so I was able to walk over there. And like I said, they have installed a straw wattle that extends most of that extent. And most of the stockpiling that was there has been removed. And the one pile that remains has a silt fence. So my initial concerns were stabilization to make sure that while I didn't see any direct evidence of an erosion issue, a sedimentation issue, I didn't want one to become a problem. I did go out there shortly after it had rained, and there's definitely been some transport of material, but at least the last time I was out there, I didn't see any direct evidence of sediment trails directly to the water course, and I didn't see any suspended sediment in the water course or deposited in the water course. I did see that it looks like the neighbor to the east may be throwing some trash and debris the water course, so I was gonna issue him a notice of violation as well and basically direct him to remove that debris unless the commission has any different concerns. Let me see if I can find those pictures real quick. So here you can see the straw wattle, and this is the water course near where the area that was cleared recently is. And you can see there was some, movement of soil, but this is the straw wattle, and they've put some straw down. I did talk with them about this one spot of concern where the water is concentrating, and it's just they put in some sort of check dam to help diffuse this water so it would sheet flow more over the bank there. This is the stockpile that remains, the silt fence, and this is the debris that I was talking about that the neighboring property owner seems to be placing adjacent to / in the water course. So and there was some woody debris that was kind of pushed around over here, which has kind of left the soil area disturbed, and there's a root ball that seems to be preventing siltation being an issue in the spot, but it's a little disturbed. So my main concerns were soil stabilization, short-term and long-term. And then the fact that there appears to have been clearing that wasn't permitted. And some regrading to some extent. This is the water course over by the area of fill. So this is, I think, over in this section here. Seems to be having a bit of a high nutrient load, but doesn't appear to have sediment issues really occurring. This is wrapping around the corner there. This is that material that I was talking about. And again, they've put a straw wattle in place to help make sure that the material doesn't transport while this is being reviewed.
Commissioner Goklowski, Jamie, has the property owner been responsive to all your requests and concerns as far as what's been going on the property?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. Yes, so like I said, I contacted the property owner. He was very responsive. He met with me out on the site. I requested that erosion controls be installed and that I be allowed to inspect the erosion controls, which occurred. A representative attended the last meeting. We scheduled the site walk. Unfortunately, we canceled the site walk, but they were, willing to meet with the commission that past Saturday. And they're here tonight to see what it is the commission is going to require to address the activity that has occurred.
This is Commissioner Begman. Thank you, Commissioner Begman. So beyond, I obviously cleaning out those tires and stuff like that and whatever that black stuff was, but beyond the stabilization short and long term, when you looked at it, Jamie, did you think that there was remediation needed?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So that's really up to the commission to decide. And I think that the commission may want to request certain information to help facilitate that decision. So,
this is Commissioner Bassman. That just that we talked about at the last meeting with the idea that the site walk would give us a perspective to then ask for the additional information. So I'm kind of in the same camp as Commissioner Goklowski. I think we still would benefit from having a site walk to see what that site looks like so that we can put together a complete list of questions that need addressing, move this thing along. At least that was our thought the last time.
Well, and okay, this is Commissioner Boda, if I can add, I mean, I think in other situations similar, the property owner has had to do an after the fact application request, and that request would also come with any kind of restoration work that needs to be done. And that we what did this property look like? So on a site plan, what did this property look like before? What are they requesting? And why should that be granted as opposed to okay, well, there's no application, so they need to just restore. So that's sort of where my head is at right now, which is that we don't necessarily propose solutions. We address requests, and if there's not a request, then it's restore. It's a lot of planting. So
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So yeah, I think that I guess there's two options. One is either the commission determines a cease and correct is in order, or I suppose you could provide the option for the property owner to submit an after the fact application to ideally address the violations, which I think gets a little bit. So I just also want to point out a cease and correct order is an order to do something, an application is a request to do something. So if the commission does think restoration is required, that would be something you'd probably want to do through an order process. So my thought process is probably so the first step would be ideally a site walk, which we tried to do and we haven't been successful at yet. Probably the next step would be to have a wetland scientist do an investigation and report on the extent of wetland / watercourses on site, and maybe just confirm that there's been no wetland filling as part of the recent activity. And speak to whether there's been any impacts that should be remediated. More extreme, the commission may want to require a site plan showing all of that information. So
Commissioner Goklowski for the property owner. Sir, you're not using that property right now for a junkyard, is that correct?
That's correct. We've actually cleaned out, hundreds of tires out of all over the site. The other thing is, as far as it being a previous wetlands, it's impossible. It was a gravel pit. That's what we're in, a big bowl there. If you look at the topography, it was mined for all the gravel, so there was no chance that it was wetlands. As far as doing a site plan and stuff like that, I mean, it would take me probably 5 to 6 months to get a survey done and a site plan, based on current backlogs and stuff like that. So I welcome a site visit.
My additional question to that. So basically is what you're telling the commission is that you don't have any contaminated oils leaking into the wetlands at this time because you cleaned up the area surrounding the wetlands. You said you removed tires and cars and things like that. What is actually being stored there right now? What are you using that property for?
We're storing windows there.
I'm sorry?
We're storing windows there. I'm the owner of Cherry Hill Glass, and
Okay.
I store completed products there or raw materials prior to processing.
Okay. And the landscaper that was at the last meeting was Bourbon?
Yes, Gene and Nick Bourbon are doing their log splitting and firewood business.
So they're renting a portion of the property from you?
Correct.
Okay, are they conducting the business anywhere near the wetlands that you're aware of?
There's it's no wetlands, it's the water course that Jamie identified in the
Okay.
With the hay stuff and whatever, and the silt fence going around it.
Jamie Frederick in the
Goklowski. Jamie, a quick question for you. The property that you said was adjacent to where you said there was debris that was thrown in the wetlands or in the watercourse area, you're going to require that property owner to clean out that area?
I was gonna so my understanding is the neighbor has placed the material there, and it certainly seems like that based on material being on the other side of the watercourse. I'm not sure which property it's on. Our GIS property lines are not terribly accurate, but it does look like. So I was gonna send a letter basically telling them don't do that and to clean it up. Unless the commission wanted me to do otherwise. I was a little bit hesitant to just issue that letter, given the fact that I think some of the material might be in the watercourse, but it's removal of debris. It seems pretty straightforward. So unless any of the commissioners have concerns, I would probably be just issuing a notice of violation to tell them that as well.
So Jamie, this is Kevin again. If there's debris that you think is in the watercourse and it potentially could be on my property, but the neighbor did it, I'd be happy to get rid of it. I'm not sure what it is, but if we meet up there and you identify it, I'll make sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if any of it's actually in the watercourse or not. I don't recall. It's been a while since I was out there, but I remember I was out with Bourbon and he pointed out the material to me. I know a lot of it's adjacent to the watercourse. There might be a little bit that has fallen into the water.
Even adjacent, whatever's an issue, if it's on my land, even if I didn't do it there, I'll get it out of there.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see the screen, Kevin. No, I'm not screen sharing. But for the commissioners and everyone else, I think the material is approximately in the area where this bend in the watercourse is. and according to our GIS, which has been off by 30+ feet before, it looks like that might actually be part of the subject property rather than the neighboring property. So I don't know, because we do have an old survey of this property, but it's like a boundary survey.
Yeah, I have a
And it
rough
doesn't
idea,
show
and
any.
the state actually has a fence along the property too. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so I can, if we want to walk again and you identify what you think is a problem, we'll get it out of there.
Okay, we can take another look.
This is Commissioner Basserman. I guess, do we have, I guess, a choice point here of whether to turn this back to the property owner and say, you need to prepare an application so that the commission can review the information that's normally provided in said application, and then go ahead and schedule the site walk, post the receipt of that application, and do our normal due diligence, or issue a cease and correct with the idea that that information, I guess, to issue the cease and correct, we'd have to do a site walk and then issue the cease and correct for what we feel needs to be done to resolve the outstanding complaint and violation. Do I have that right, or is there another option?
I mean, I guess the third option is you guys think that there's no violation, but I don't think that that's going to be the general consensus of the commission, given that there clearly has been some earth disturbance within 100 feet of the wetlands and some water courses and some clearing. So I do think a site walk would be helpful for the commissioners. And I do think a wetlands investigation would be helpful for all parties, because to the point that the property owner was making about there couldn't be wetlands on site, it would be confirmation of that. You'd have this, I would think as part of the soil scientist's work, it would be doing an investigation of wetlands and water courses subject to the areas, in proximity of the green and red outlines. So like they don't have to do the entire property. And then assessing whether there were any impacts that should be mitigated. And then that kind of takes the guesswork out for the commission. It puts professional opinion on the record for the commission to consider. The commission could require potentially that the soil scientist attend the meeting so that the commission could ask questions if need be. Might be a good place to start, because when the property owner mentioned that it would take months to get a survey, I definitely believe that. Everything is very backlogged and this is a very large site. So I think as far as, if the commission thinks there's things that need to be addressed and or, to confirm whether or not there's things that need to be addressed, starting with the soil scientist would keep things moving. Whereas if you're going to require a full site plan and survey, that's going to take a while. And maybe you determine that that's what's going to be needed after you get that first level of information, and maybe you want to wait until you've seen the site to know whether or not you think the soil scientist is needed and the extent of what you want to ask the soil scientist to investigate. But I guess what I'm recommending is
A site walk.
A site walk and the consideration of timing for the information you request in the order that you request information.
This is Commissioner Bassman. I guess given the history of the site, the variation on the site of the different concerns, the closeness of that area in red to the water course, it would seem to me that we would all benefit from the due diligence of a site walk, and then be able to decide based on that observation what it is that we're gonna need to move this thing forward. So does anybody not feel that a site walk would be appropriate and soon? Okay. We tried this last time. given the fact that we're meeting every 2 weeks too, is there a suggested date, Jamie, that you think would be good for that site walk? I guess still gonna be dark at, 5 o'clock during the week, so we're likely talking about a weekend site walk.
This is Commissioner Begmont. Currently this Saturday, no rain is predicted.
I
Currently,
was just gonna say that.
it's 2 days away.
Yeah, I was looking at the weather too. Saturday looks like decent weather. It'll be shortly after it rains because it's supposed to rain this evening into tomorrow morning. Or you could chance doing it the next Saturday, but I don't know that you want to do that because right now the weather looks good, but you never know 10 days out what's gonna happen.
I like, this is Commissioner Boda. I like this Saturday. I'm unavailable.
Oh, wait. Let me think. Sorry. We have to notice a special meeting 48 hours in advance, so we could do this Sunday, but we cannot do this Saturday.
Gonna snow Sunday.
Does look like it's gonna rain on Sunday potentially, but I'm not seeing any volumes of rain, so it's probably not gonna be too much. But I don't know if anyone else is available on Sunday.
I'm not on Sunday.
Me neither.
I don't know if people can get out a little early from work. I mean, you'd have to get out pretty early. Just make sure, but I'm pretty sure special meetings are 48 hours. I apologize. It is notice of each special meeting of every public agency shall be posted not less than 24 hours prior to the meeting.
All right.
48 hours.
That's okay.
Good catch, Jamie.
So I guess we could do Saturday. We just have to do late enough on Saturday that we can get the agenda filed.
We should ask the property owner if he's available.
Yes, assuming the property owner is available.
I'm definitely available anytime.
So Jamie, would 10 or 11 be late enough so that you could notice it? If you have time to get in and get it noticed?
This is Katie. Absolutely. That'll be my first task in the morning.
Thank you for that.
Is there a preference for 10 or 11?
The earlier the better.
10.
10 o'clock?
10's good.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock?
Okay. 10 o'clock Saturday. And this is a relatively large site, Jamie, right?
Yes. It is relatively large, however, I think it is fairly walkable, especially on the western portion of the site. It's a little bit uneven on the eastern portion near the water course. But I think you can see a decent amount from where it's flat. And so, depending on commissioners' comfort levels, you can get as close to the activity as, or close to the areas as you want. But yeah, I think you can see a decent amount from fairly flat land.
This Commissioner Bassman, and we won't have snow cover, so footing, while it might be uneven, won't have hidden.
No, I mean, part of the earthwork I was mentioning is it is very flat. It is somewhat impressively flat. It's just the edges of the activity that it's not.
It's Commissioner Begman. So when we turn into that to get there, we're gonna drive up the dirt driveway for a while, or will we just?
Yeah,
where do
the dirt driveway is not flat. It is very full of potholes. So drive slow or park at the supply ponds and take a walk. But it would be a long walk from there because it is a long driveway. But you could potentially carpool if, you know, somebody has a lower riding vehicle. But I have a low riding Crown Vic and my car is able to get in there fine. So I think you'll be fine. Just take it slow.
Anything else on?
Kevin, do you think there's gonna be enough space for all of the commissioners to park at the end there?
Yeah,
And
we'll
or
have the
that
gate
you
open so you
open
can
the
pull inside.
gate? Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay. So 10 o'clock this Saturday.
10 o'clock Saturday.
Sounds great. Thank you very
for
much.
Thank you for making the time available, Kevin.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you Saturday.
Okay. Final notice of violation, 87 Hotchkiss Grove Road, placement of fill, large volume of leaves on the slope above the wetland.
All right, Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So when this first got put on the agenda, it appeared to be leaves for the most part. I viewed this from a distance from the neighboring property, and then I met with somebody and viewed it a little bit closer, and it looks like there is some dirt material in there as well. This is a notice of violation because it's fairly far away from the wetland. So I wanted to bring it to the commission's attention, but I'm not really sure where the commission wants to go with it. So let me pull up
this Commissioner Bassett, what's a fairly large distance from wetland?
So I didn't measure it or anything, but I think it's approximately 100 feet from the wetland. So I did keep it, I did want to bring it to the commission though, because there is that slope involved, but then it kind of flattens out. So there definitely is some transport of material onto the neighboring property, but not anywhere near the wetland. So from a wetland standpoint, I'm not sure how much of a concern it is. But I want you guys to make your own assessment of that. And we do have the property owner, I believe, present on the call. They are not local and they rent the property out. I made them aware of the situation and they can address any questions you have of them.
You have pictures?
I do. All right, just trying to queue everything up so that I don't get lost midway. Just be lost at the beginning. Okay. So is everyone seeing a GIS map?
Yep.
Okay. So 87 Hotchkiss Grove Road is the property subject to the notice of violation. The ponds is, I believe, a condominium property located to the rear. During the development of this condominium property, there was wetland filling. So you can see there's a wetland area to the south and the north that used to be continuous and it is no longer. But basically between here and here, there's a wetland area and it has not been redelineated since the ponds was developed. So this information is with a grain of salt, if you will. It's kind of the best fit based off of assumptions. But so this is the closest wetland area, the wetland area of concern relative to the activity. This is the steep hillside right here. And you can see the hillside does continue, but it gets much more gradual. So it's this steep portion of the hillside that has had some earth material, dirt, and a lot of leaves dumped. And I believe there's a landscape contractor that has been dumping there. They've been informed not to do any more activity at this time, and it's seasonally not the time to be doing it. But so that's that. And then this is the May 2023 aerial image, and this is kind of what made me go, I think it might be more than just leaves, because this kind of looks like it might be some dirt material. And then I went out on January 11th with the management representative from the ponds, because they're a little bit concerned about the long-term stability of the trees, which I think is what would most likely relate to the commission's potential concerns here. Because if, you know, the trees were to be negatively impacted and perhaps fall, it could cause further disturbance to the stability of that steep slope. So this picture is taken approximately from over here somewhere, looking kind of at this area of the site, I believe. Oops. And then this area right here, you can see that there's some dirt material. This is zoomed in on that, so you can see that there's this dark dirt material, and this is the tree trunk. So, I mean, it's not a natural placement of that material. And I believe this stake is the property line between the 87 Hotchkiss and the ponds. Again, close up of that area. And this is the farthest side from the wetlands. This is all that same area. This is the area where I saw exposed dirt material. And as I said, it is causing some runoff onto the pond's property, but you can see that it's kind of terminating here. And there's a long ways for it to go before it would get to the wetlands. So this is this corner of this building structure. So basically the material is here and the wetlands over here. And basically it's kind of a drainage swale remnant terminus to that wetland area. I unfortunately don't have any pictures of the wetland area itself. So this is from the other end of the condo building, looking at that slope, and you can see that the material extends along the full slope here. And then this little holly plant is basically adjacent to where the wetland is. So the wetlands to my back, and this is me looking at the activity. And I didn't really see any immediate concerns for the wetland beyond the fact that, I mean, having all that fill material piled up against those trees on that slope is, you know, not ideal. So I don't know if the commission feels that more activity or any corrective action is required in the notice of violation. I did specify you are encouraged to remove the leaves from the slope and from around the base of the trees. This is back when I thought it was just leaves for the most part. Down to a natural leaf litter without causing any ground/soil disturbance to the slope, and with caution not to damage the trees to prevent any detrimental impacts. Note that the commission may require removal of this unpermitted fill. So I guess one thing I want to point out is I think there's two considerations. One, the activity that has occurred, whether or not the commission has any further concerns regarding it. And two, knowing that whether you require any removal or you don't require any removal, the property owner may want to do removal for their own purposes to save the trees, not have problems with their neighbors, what have you. And whether or not you feel that you need to be involved in that review process, or if you're okay with me reviewing it, you know, kind of administratively and making sure that it's not going to negatively impact the wetland.
Commissioner Goklowski, Jamie, do we know who dropped the extended pile of leaves there? Do we know where they came from?
I will defer that question into the property owner. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to say your last name.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tracy Gustafson. I'm the property owner there. Yeah, there's been an agreement for probably a couple generations with the Rapinos next door landscapers to put just leaves there. They don't put any brush or anything else. And I did take a look at the photos. I got some recent photos too. The trees where there's a kind of that soil around that tree that happened, I guess, due to a flood a couple years back, just kind of washed out there. And so that now that that's brought to our attention, we can try to kind of fix that area around the trees and clean that up a little bit. Make sure that they stay stable. They're kind of holding up the back of my world there.
This is Commissioner Boda. I think unless, Jamie, unless you find, that working with Ms. Gustafson isn't working, I think that this can be done administratively. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. And is it kind of up to me whether or not the extent of the work qualifies for an application versus just keeping in touch to make sure that there's not going to be an impact given the distance from the wetlands?
Yeah,
Yes.
I unless you find something very different out there, I don't know that it rises to the level of that.
Sure.
So I think as long as the property owner is working with you and addressing the issue of protecting those trees, and that if like looking at was it like unit 18, which was kind of further from the wetland, but in the aerial it looked like a dark spot, and as long as that isn't actually its own little pocket, you see unit 18 there on the corner. That could
I
be
think this is a
shadow
tree.
Yeah, so if really what we're talking about is the closer to unit 13, 15 to 13, but yeah, I think administrative would be the best bet at this point.
Commissioner Bassman, following up on Commissioner Boda's comment, I guess, Jamie, the soil that you observed, was that in generally one location or multiple locations?
Jamie Frederick in the wetland agent. So I didn't want to encroach on private property, so it was harder to view from this side because there's more wooded area between the steep slope and the open area on the ponds. So that was the only area I observed it. And that's the only area where I observed any transport of soil.
Right.
So I would probably request from the property owner that I meet with her or a representative on site to kind of just go over things and make sure that, everything's going to be cleaned up and stabilized in a way that's not going to impact the wetland long term. And, if I would just ask that if there's any additional activity ever proposed on that slope, that they contact the inland wetland office first to make sure that there's no approvals needed or review process given that offsite wetland. And I did kind of look around. I didn't do any soil testing. I didn't dig anything. I didn't see anything that looked like obvious wetland soils in this area. And I was kind of going off of that assumption of the old wetland area. It is wet behind these condo buildings and excuse me, in the lawn, but I don't think it's a wetland.
Does any Commissioner Bassman, does any commissioner have a different thought regarding agent approval?
Nope. Agree.
General consensus here, Jamie, or do we need roll call?
Yeah, that's fine. No.
Okay.
I'll follow up with the property owner.
Great. Looks like you got a permit. We generally don't get too involved with these, correct?
Yeah, so
pesticide permit for 214 Alps.
This is a reapplication. They've been doing the same treatment since 2018. So I don't anticipate any new comments, but it's state requirement that the local and the wetland commission be notified in case there's any local knowledge that the commission may have and or concerns. We also don't have a practice of requiring a permit for these things. So it's a notification.
Great. We have one application for receipt this evening in the wetland 24010435 Buena Vista, tearing down an existing house and rebuilding a new one. What do we got?
So based on our new practice, I've informed the applicant that they didn't need to attend because there would be no presentation. So it is just for receipt, and I would anticipate a presentation at the next meeting.
Moving right along. We got an agent approval that we talked about last meeting.
Mhm.
And
Yep, so the
go ahead.
property owner came in and revised their site plan or sketch per your request. And we talked a little bit about the stormwater, and he mentioned he was gonna put in a rain barrel. So yeah.
We're happy. Correspondence, cause meeting on March 7th. I guess is the date passed where we would register folk, Katie, or we still have time if somebody wants to attend?
Katie Blanchett, Inland Wetland Associate. This was gonna be your last notice of that, and if anybody can let me know by tomorrow, if they would like to attend, and then I'll send the registration in next week.
We do have
Katie,
two
did you get
commissioners
my-
so far.
What?
Yep, we've got Boda and Ormrod.
Yep.
Highly
They're also planning
recommend.
on attending.
Highly recommend. It is a good conference, and yeah. So, and if I can also just mention there's some the new stormwater guidance from the state. There's been some webinars. I can share that and some links. So
We did
I'm gonna
touch base briefly on that at our last meeting, with staff to give an update in March.
Sweet.
But we can also send out some, I think we've sent out some of those links, but we can send
Right.
some of those out maybe closer to when we're gonna put it back on the agenda so that people can be familiar with it at that time.
It's exciting. Hallelujah.
So just Inland Wetland Associate Katie Blanchett again, just to reiterate, deadline is tomorrow by noon to let me know if you'd like to attend the cause annual meeting. Please and thank you.
Commissioner Vassman, Katie, is that the last day for discount or the last day to register?
No, we're setting it as I'm setting it as the last day to register because I have to submit the paperwork to finance and it goes through this whole approval process. So it's just easy instead of trying to wait till the last minute, I'd rather get it in earlier than later.
And if anyone else decides they want to register, I mean, you can let us know and we'll see if we can get it done. And if not, you could register and give us the receipt and request a reimbursement. So there are options, but we just want to make sure we can get it through the whole process before it becomes a problem. Before finance yells at us.
Which they do sometimes, so.
And for our final motion tonight, does somebody want to make the adjournment motion?
So moved. Commissioner Boda.
And a second.
Second.
See you all Saturday.
Good night, all.
Take care.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Brantford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BrantfordTV.org.